Why can the sun keep shining and releasing heat without exploding? Will it keep burning like this forever? You may not realize this, but the energy the sun releases every second is equivalent to 15,879 tons of TNT, detonating simultaneously. That level of energy has been stably maintained for 4.6 billion years. Many people wonder, with such an intense release of energy, why hasn't the sun blown itself apart like a hydrogen bomb, shattering instantly into fragments? The answer lies in three core mechanisms within the sun itself: continuous nuclear fusion, stable gravitational balance, and flexible dynamic regulation. First, nuclear fusion. The sun's light and heat do not come from chemical burning, but from hydrogen nuclei in its core. Undergoing nuclear fusion, the continuous operation of this process is the fundamental reason the sun can keep shining for so long. The way energy is produced intrinsically avoids the possibility of a sudden explosion. The sun's mass is 330,000 times that of Earth, and its volume is 1.3 million times larger. As a result, it consumes about 4.5 million tons of hydrogen every second. The energy created by this loss of mass is released into space, allowing us on Earth to feel sunlight and heat. The key reason this enormous energy does not erupt explosively is the controllability of nuclear fusion. Fusion in the sun occurs only in its core, where temperatures reach about 10 million degrees Celsius, and pressure is roughly 250 billion times Earth's atmosphere. Only under such extreme conditions can hydrogen nuclei overcome electrostatic repulsion and fuse together. This means the energy-producing region is concentrated and limited. The entire star does not undergo fusion at once, so it naturally cannot explode like a hydrogen bomb. More importantly, the sun has an abundant fuel supply, at a rate of consuming 4.5 million tons of hydrogen per second. The hydrogen in the sun's core can sustain stable fusion for about 10 billion years. So far, the sun has used only about half of its core hydrogen. The remaining fuel can last another 5 billion years. If nuclear fusion is the sun's energy engine, then gravity is the invisible framework that keeps this engine running smoothly. The sun maintains its spherical shape and prevents violent core reactions from breaking through the surface, entirely because of the immense gravitational force produced by its mass, which precisely balances the radiation pressure generated by fusion. The sun's enormous mass produces extremely strong gravity, always directed toward the core, like countless invisible ropes, pulling matter tightly inward. Meanwhile, the vast energy released by nuclear fusion in the core spreads outward as photons and particles, creating powerful radiation pressure that pushes matter outward, opposite to gravity. These two forces are evenly matched, forming what is known as hydrostatic equilibrium. This balance allows the sun's radius, temperature, and brightness to remain stable over extremely long periods. Gravity acts as the catalyst for fusion, while the radiation pressure produced by fusion pushes back against gravity. They depend on and constrain each other, forming the foundation of the sun's stability. This slow, controlled transfer of energy is like installing a buffer on the sun's power output. No matter how intense fusion in the core becomes, the energy can only move outward gradually, never piling up suddenly at the surface and causing an explosion. However, gravitational balance is only the sun's static framework. Dynamic regulation is what truly serves as its self-stabilizing system. After all, the sun is not completely unchanging. Solar winds and magnetic storms may look disruptive, but in reality, they are ways the sun regulates itself. Combined with a balance between mass loss and replenishment, they allow the sun to remain stable. First, the dynamic balance between mass loss and replenishment. The sun's outermost layer, the corona, reaches temperatures of about 1 million degrees Celsius. Matter there becomes ionized into charged particles and is ejected outward at speeds of 300 to 800 kilometers per second, forming the solar wind. Each year, this process carries away about 1 million tons of surface material. Of course, this amount is negligible for the sun and does not affect its overall structure. More importantly, the plasma inside the sun is highly dynamic. Hydrogen from the outer layers slowly migrates toward the core under gravity, replenishing the fuel that has been consumed. Any gaps left by surface mass loss are filled by internal material through convective motion. This cycle of surface loss and internal replenishment keeps the sun's mass distribution balanced. It's also worth noting that solar flares and prominences frequently appear on the sun's surface. A moderate solar flare can release energy equivalent to the explosion of 11 hydrogen bombs. Solar prominences can stretch for hundreds of thousands, even over 1 million kilometers. But these phenomena are not threats. They are the sun's safety valves for energy. Magnetic fields inside the sun constantly twist and store energy. When that energy reaches a critical threshold, it is released through flares and prominences. preventing excessive energy build-up inside the sun. It's like the pressure relief valve on a pressure cooker, automatically releasing steam. Moreover, these magnetic eruptions occur only in localized surface regions. They do not affect core nuclear fusion or gravitational balance, and they certainly do not cause the sun to explode. This regulation mechanism, speeding up when things slow down, slowing down when things speed up, responds extremely quickly. Adjustments can occur within hours or days, ensuring that nuclear fusion always remains at a moderate level. This prevents energy from erupting too rapidly, or gravity from causing collapse if fusion slows too much. The sun's ability to shine continuously without exploding is the result of nuclear fusion, gravitational balance, and dynamic regulation working together. These three mechanisms form a remarkably stable system. So will the sun burn like this forever? Not exactly. According to stellar evolution theory, the sun is currently in its main sequence phase, the most stable stage of a star's life. It has already been burning steadily for 4.6 billion years. At the current rate of fuel consumption, this phase will last another 5 billion years. In other words, humanity has at most 5 billion years left. After that, the sun will enter the next stage of its evolution. About 5 billion years from now, the sun's hydrogen fuel will be exhausted, and its stable balance will break. It will then enter the red giant phase. At that time, the sun's radius will expand to more than 200 times its current size. It will engulf Mercury, Venus, and possibly Earth. This phase will last about 1 billion years. Afterward, the sun will enter the white dwarf stage. Once helium fuel is exhausted, the sun's core will collapse into a white dwarf, while its outer layers form a planetary nebula that disperses into space. A white dwarf has no nuclear fusion. It shines only by radiating its remaining heat. After tens of billions of years, the white dwarf will cool completely, and ultimately become a black dwarf that emits no light at all. This is the fate of the sun, and the final destiny of the entire solar system.